welcome to Radio Labyrinth Presents. Tonight, we have a couple of really great guests. Henry Zebrowski, who is an actor that is been in a bunch of things that we love and can't talk about because of the strike, and is also one of the co-hosts of the wildly popular Last Podcast on the Left. Mike LaSage is best known as a chef and restaurateur, starting as a sous chef at Pachin in the Old Fourth Ward, and then he went on to own and operate Bone Lick Barbecue. His vast knowledge of all things meat and his unique take on the fringe world will come together for one night only as he creates a menu no one will forget. So prepare for a chilling culinary adventure as Mike crafts a 4-course dining experience that pushes the boundaries of the ordinary. Drawing inspiration from the infamous Donner Party saga, the menu promises to delight the taste buds while delivering shockingly memorable presentations with special guest and 2-time Radio Labyrinth podcast guest, Henry Zebrowski. Welcome.
So tell us, how did you guys meet? And was Satan involved?
We haven't met, and maybe now you're the devil.
It's good. It's finally happened electronically.
Kevin Galise is kind of who put this whole thing together. Kevin and I go way back, and I think Kevin and Henry have worked on some things together over at Dad's Garage Theater. Since COVID, Kevin and I have been kind of just fooling around with the idea of trying to create some sort of, experiential, dinner, pop-up, something that's kind of like fully immersive and lots of fun and different than anything that's going on in Atlanta. When he kind of pitched the idea to me of like getting involved with this, and to me it just seemed like a really fun and interesting, unique idea.
It's just nice because I like that people have heard me on Last Podcast on the Left talk about like how Atlanta is one of my favorite food destinations in the entire country. One of my favorite cities. Love being there. Love working there. And so Kevin brought up this idea, like, because there's going to be a lot of surprises in this evening that might even be surprises to ourselves. We're going to find out what this night is like. I think it's going to kind of be fun to do it because we know the food's going to be good. That was kind of what we knew. Number one, the food's got to be really good. I love that it's an Ammazza because, again, one of my favorite places in the city. Love that place. And then we're like, we could kind of make it sort of like you're just kind of trapped in there with me while you're eating, and then you're sort of subjugated to me, sort of like, I don't know what I'm quite going to do, but I'm certain in the end it's going to be very well planned.
I was wondering if, like on the Bear, they're going to lock you in the walk-in like a week before the event, and then the night of.
Yeah, there we go.
The night of, we just start chopping you up.
I know there's going to be costume changes. I know there's going to be a lot of delicious gore. And I'm kind of excited for is delicious gore.
I'm saying with somebody on the staff there today, somebody from the staff from Ammazza, because I'm bringing in some other people to cook with me, but by and large, we're going to use a lot of their staff because that way nobody's losing their night of work or everything from us taking over the restaurant. And I was talking with the bar staff, and they were kind of kicking around some ideas of like they want to know if they can have some input on the bar. I was like, absolutely, love to hear what you want to do. And like some of the drinks came up, and they seemed kind of like cool and kind of spooky, but they were more Halloweeny than they were gore. And so it's like kind of like what kind of had to put that in there. I'm like, the thing here is that we're talking about cannibalism. We're not talking spooky witch, right? Like, so that's the thing to keep in mind. And which I think
I love that. I also like the idea of maybe building. Like you build to the most gory, horrible thing at the very end. But it's the goal at the end is delicious. Because I know I've had real, like, one of my favorite, I love a roast pig. I remember one time I was in Seattle, and by the end of the dinner, pretty intoxicated, right? It's like you had a big roast pig. It was really awesome. By the end, his 2 eyeballs were on 2 little sticks, right? They were like fried on the other side. And the guy who made the pig came up and he was like, "You must try the eyeball." And I was just like, at that point, I was like, yeah, sure. And that was very interesting. And I'm hoping we have something like that because it just tastes like fat. Like, I didn't know that. It's kind of delicious.
Yeah.
But my body did not enjoy it.
Well, wasn't like half the Donner Party were children. So
They lived.
All of the children lived?
The majority of the survivors of the Donner Party were the women and children.
But some of those kids were lamb and veal, right?
Oh yeah. Well, but the problem was is that in the like if you listen to our series on the last podcast on the left, like you really kind of get into. Honestly, it was a lot creepier than you even can imagine. Right? It was very kind of very scary, and mostly you had like their like Native American guides. They were like, these white people are going crazy.
Yeah.
Like they were just kind of walked away from everything, but they still had sort of like how do you put it? They had a
Ethics.
A reticence.
Yeah.
To eat the children. They felt bad. One of the kids died naturally and they ate the kids because obviously there were several adults who were like, kill the children, we'll make more. And then they're like, no. And then like they have to move past. But it is, yeah, I don't know what they taste like.
But the guides were the only ones that they plotted on, right? Like everybody else, they kind of let be sick and they ate, but they killed the guides. And I wanted to know, do you guys have any Indian-inspired dishes on the menu?
Do we have? I don't know.
Yeah, Mike, you could talk about the menu some.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. Not all the children made it in the menu. That's...
I'm excited. I'm surprised. I have no idea. I don't know what's going to be at this meal.
Yeah, I think definitely there's definitely a lot of like milk cartons that can come from this menu. Lots of lost children. And yeah, so yeah, I mean, there's not really a lot of Native American food inspirations on the menu. It basically we're kind of getting really playful with all of it. So we're gonna have a live fire pit, much like you would roast a pig on, but we'll be roasting human legs on.
Yes.
Where do you have that in the restaurant? Is it going to be outside?
Well, actually, we're going to have that outside. So we're going to kind of partition off a section of the section of the parking lot to have a couple of the food stations, and then we'll have a couple of food stations inside as well, just to kind of keep things from getting too everybody too on top of one another. So.
I texted Hugh and asked if I could go for free, and he didn't respond. So I figured out that I can't go.
Yeah, Tim used to be a comedy chef.
I wasn't a comedy. I was a floor runner, and I was also on weekends. I worked apps, which if anybody out there knows about the restaurant industry, apps is pretty difficult sometimes, and you're always slammed. So you see that line at the door: apps. So I worked there when I got fired from my last radio job, and I needed a place to work. And since I've always been in and out of restaurants, a friend of mine that worked there hired me, and it was fun. I liked working down there.
That's the one job I did not have. I never worked in the restaurant industry. I feel like I would have fallen apart working in a restaurant. This is the closest I will get.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I will I'm mostly going to be singing songs, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm going to be yelling at people a lot. I think that's going to really help, but I'm going to set an atmosphere. That's the main goal.
I had a question for Mike. What do you think would be the best cut of meat from a person?
Well, we were talking today about this. We're going to make this human charcuterie board, and basically, right now we're trying to source like a gurney to basically have our body laid out on a gurney. And basically all this kind of charcuterie laid out till it's cleaned and there's a skeleton underneath. And one of the things, like when you do a pig roast, there's always like that handful of people that are like wanting to get in line first because they want to get the cheek meat, And so while we don't really have much in the cheek department there, but I think we are going to have some hidden surprises in the thing that not everybody gets. It's kind of going to be for those in the know. And or those who can kind of guess where it is. But one of the things we're gonna probably have some cheek meat on that, which would be kind of a fun thing. But I don't know. I mean, I think it probably it would depend a lot on the person,
Yes, from what I have heard, and don't ask me where, but it's literally the thigh and butt, right? But a lot of times it's not as nutritional. Normally, if you are going to eat. This is real. I know we discovered the crash of the Essex, and they talked about it. Is like you got to eat the liver. The organs are actually the most important things to eat because it's what you get the most nutrition out of. That's allow you to live for a long time. And then you need marbled meat. You need meat with fat in it. Because I remember one of my favorite shows ever. You ever seen the show Alone?
Yeah. We love Alone.
I love Alone. But do you remember the guy that he won one? I think that's the season before last, who like prison shanked a water buffalo.
Yeah.
Where he just went up and went sit, like either side of it until it finally took it down. He's a 500 pound animal.
Yeah.
Gets it down, and then he was eating it slowly, and he was just like, I finally have no sustenance. You'll take me all the way to the end of this. Like, he thought this was going to be, like, it was going to fix everything, but it turned out because there was no fat on the meat, because it was an animal that had been basically hibernating, you can eat as much of that, and then you literally can starve to death.
Wow.
Being full, you can starve to death.
Let me ask you this, Henry. Is there, are you, I'm assuming you're a pretty adventurous eater.
Yes.
If ever given the opportunity to eat human, would you?
This has come up a lot. Again, ethically sourced, not a relative. That's probably definitely not, you should not do relative. Because you get mad cow disease that way. And then what you do is real. You can get a prion disease. But if it was a stranger who had donated a chunk of meat, because I've seen several of these styles of show, like that guy that served his penis, that the Japanese guy who served his penis, he cooked it and he gave it to everybody and everyone's like, oh, great. It was like, I want to say it was like expensive too. It was like $115 per person. And it wasn't a lot. And then because he just didn't have a lot, it's like the penis is not a good meat to eat because it shrinks, But then there was the other story, the guy that had
Kill them when they're excited.
You had to kill them when they're excited. Yeah, you got to pull it tight. There was also the guy that I saw this recently where he had gotten his foot removed. I forgot why. I think it was an injury. He got his foot removed, and then he cooked the meat from his foot, and he ate it himself. Okay. So I feel like that's a way to do that.
Yeah,
you could, but I'm trying to not.
There was a guy on CNN about, 5-6 years ago. It was one of those traveling shows, and he was with some tribe of people, and I forget what country it was in, but they served him human remains, and he ate them, and then he didn't know.
You're in their house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not saying no, because how do you think that guy got there?
Yeah. It's not the man who came to dinner. You can't bully them. You eat what they give you.
Yeah.
When I travel, wherever I go in the world, I'm traveling for food, and I'm traveling for, interesting, I'm not necessarily looking to try the weirdest, most disgusting things by any means, but I am trying to find interesting foods whenever I travel. And I kind of feel like, if I was in a place and somebody was like, come over here, I'd get them to try. I think I'd try anything twice.
I would say,
would you try it like ortolan style, like with that bird where you have to put the napkin over your head because of the shame?
Yeah, I always have to fake shame.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess.
Well, you've ever had one of those pieces of meat? Because I definitely when I eat the eyeballs, there is sort of what feels like almost like a transgressive style, where you're your body knows you don't normally eat this. Mm-hmm. That's my one, what's really weird? My main fear about eating human being truly is how I think you get sick. It takes a lot. A lot of times with cannibalism, again, not to make it too real, but a lot of times with cannibalism, they say the first barrier is the trying to get it inside of you. Your body doesn't want it. It's going to be rejecting it over and over.
Yeah, it's like me trying to take mushrooms. I can't swallow them.
You got it. I always enjoyed mushrooms. You're talking about which ones?
Yeah, the good ones.
Yeah.
Psilocybin.
Oh, yeah. I kind of like the taste of mushrooms.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
No. That reminds me of my...
I've got a product for you you might be interested in. We'll talk after this.
No, I was just going to ask. There was 47 people that survived, right? In the Donner Party.
Yeah, let me look that up. Because it's one of those where it is surprising how big the Donner Party was. I guess that's what I was kind of thinking. It was like a town moved. Let me look this up. Yeah, 45.
45. So out of those 45, how many of those do you think went on to have successful dinner parties of their own in the future? Do you think anybody would want to come to their dinner party?
I tell you what, I would never go fucking hiking again. I feel like when someone's been like, "Would you want to go? Don't you want to go to the cabin this weekend?" Be like, "Fuck you." I'm going to Florida. I'm going to Florida where it's hot and and it's nice. No. 32 out of 45 were children too.
Wow.
Yeah, man. But the way they described it too is that when they rolled up, so, they kind of had to leave them for a while. Like one guy, they broke through the store and whatever. And when they rolled up to like catch them, to get them, like the kids coming out like ghouls, like they came out from underneath the snow, like.
When did the Donner Party thing happen? I don't.
1846.
1846. Okay.
But also it was the grand example of I told you so, because that was the whole thing, right? Is that the guy that ran them, it's just like, God, it's just completely American, but it's like, it's perfect in his just being a dummy, where he, like, they took a shortcut that no one was ever supposed to take. Like, it was this idea of this fantasy shortcut that were like, because they were just going, but their shortcut took them right through the White Sands deserts of Utah. That was hell on earth. Just flat, like you were basically you're on the moon. It's just weird.
No food, no water.
Nothing to get. And they were carrying their whole lives with them. Oh, God. I just even think about that, too, where it's like, I hate nature.
I would have just stayed in New York State or Georgia or any state. I don't know how many states there were then. I guess maybe 20. Who knows? But somebody knows. But I just would have stayed. I wouldn't have been venturous. I wouldn't have.
You weren't trying to get some of that gold?
I don't care about gold. I care about eating and not dying in a mountain.
Yeah, they were there was just that idea of like, we'll go and we'll find a place out there because it's manifest destiny. Meanwhile, like, no one learned from like Lewis and Clark, because Lewis and Clark, like, that sounded like that trip sucked too. And then like now you're just going out to do like, no one wanted it. We went and populated this country against our own will.
Yeah.
And I know.
Let John Smith have this state, and we're going to go back.
Man, that whole story is also screwed too, because
Yeah.
following, because what's his name? Oh my God, my brain. Joseph Smith.
Yeah, Joseph Smith
was a literal grave robber and a local magician and a sooth teller. Like, he really was. He was L. Ron Hubbard, but at the beginning of Mormonism. Like, and him taking those poor people out to the middle of goddamn nowhere was all like, I don't know. Again, I would have just stayed home. Just been like,
Yeah.
I'll be a city lawyer.
Yeah, Palmyra is not that bad.
I like it here. I love Altoona.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a vegetarian, so I'm assuming that there's nothing on the menu for me.
There will be a couple of things.
Oh,
It has to be. I feel like we got to have something for these weeks. Like, they're all week. We have to feed them. There is definitely stuff that is red. I know every single time, it's the hack at this point, but eating beets, if you don't remember you eat beets until you think you have colon cancer. And it's the same. I feel like we can do that for them.
Well, I don't eat animals, but if you did cook a person, I would try that.
Yeah.
You'd really eat people? Or just
Over an animal? Probably, yeah.
That's really nice.
Yeah,
She'd eat
I don't want
Kim Jong-un.
people are. I don't eat sentient beings.
Yeah.
We don't know what they think.
Yeah.
We don't know what they think.
Human beings are gluten-free, right? And keto.
It's pure protein.
Yeah. Okay.
That's pure ass protein. They are also, God. The idea too, when they were just eating the shoes and they're eating all the leather flaps, that's a maybe thing that we should think about too, is a part of what they ate. I don't know if there's a way to make this in a nice, tasty way, was like before they got to the people, they ate every piece of leather in a circle around them.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a hide.
Scares the shit out of me. That's why.
I mean, I don't know why that's more troubling to me than eating people.
Yeah.
It's because they ate anything that wasn't nailed down.
Yeah.
They ate
Nothing was nailed down. Yeah, there's maybe there's something there, like some kind of leather we could make. And with the human charcuterie, we'd even get some tattoos on there.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah. You could do that with
testicles on that charcuterie board because those are bite size.
Yeah. Well, not everybody.
Not everybody's.
Not every-
Testicles are being stuffed into the brains that we're doing. You'll see.
I do love it. I love testicles. I've had Rocky Mountain oysters several times. I remember I lied to my friends. We went to Oklahoma City. We went to the oldest steakhouse in Oklahoma City called Cattleman's. Like when you go there, the cows that they shoot in the head are right there. Like you look at them. I wish you could pick them. So cool.
Feel like lobster.
It would be amazing, yeah, if we were just going like, yeah, I want Daisy. But then it's barely cooked, right? The steak is just like they flap it because it's so fresh. Like they don't do like New York. They don't like, was it aged prime beef or like that? It's all just fresh meat. And just the idea of it, it's like, so I got a bunch of Rocky Mountain oysters and the guys didn't know. They were all eating. I was just like, they were all eating. And I did it kind of like Titus Andronicus, where at the end I was like, yes, testicles were had by all, they were all like, I thought that was calamari, like.
How do you not know that they're balls? Are they sliced after they're cooked? I don't understand. I've never seen them
They
prepared.
sort of look like a fried pickle.
Okay.
They're flat because balls are actually like strings.
Oh. Yeah, that's right. They're filled with tubes.
They're filled with
Now,
tubes.
Is the semen drained out of them before they're cooked?
I asked for it to not be.
Oh, God.
I was like, bring me the Boston cream.
So you drain it and make like a sauce from it.
Sure. It might break down. I don't know if it breaks into a sauce. I don't know if it can emulsify. But they honestly, they just taste like, if you've had, the sweetbreads, any of that, they all kind of taste the same.
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing that I don't like to eat from animals is liver and tripe. And I've tried them both. And I always keep trying, because I know liver is really good for you. And I've tried and tried and tried. I just can't do it. Not even chicken livers, which you can pop in your mouth. Just can't do it. But everything else I'm pretty good for. And you mentioned cheeks earlier. There's a place in Atlanta where you can get pig cheek tacos, and they're so good.
Yeah.
Where?
It's off of Monroe, and it's across from the Trader Joe's down there.
That little spot.
Yes.
At a corner. Yeah.
I'm going to try that when I come into town.
And lengua. Yeah, lengua tacos are good too.
I love lengua.
There's a few places. I used to have a barbecue restaurant. We did pork cheek tacos on the menu there as well. But yeah, the first time that I ever had basically the Rocky Mountain oysters, I got them from DeKalb Farmers Market. I got them fresh, and then I smoked them at home, and we sliced them that way. And it was the first time I had it. It's kind of hard to explain, but it was kind of a little bit of a hot dog-ish flavor to it.
Yeah,
it was kind of like
smoke.
Yeah, the smoke added to it. Yeah.
Why do they call them Rocky Mountain oysters?
You don't want to call them balls.
Don't want to call you balls. Yeah.
Cow balls.
Why not Appalachian Mountain oysters? I mean, why?
I don't know. I actually feel like at some point, again, not to
We
be
don't eat
anything. We don't eat that. I feel like as a species, we would only eat those things largely because we had to, right? I imagine we ate them out of a need because it was meat that was available, so we did it. But I think that for a while they did have to sell it. They had to package it up. I remember my mom was real into cube steak. It might as well have been horse, and so I feel like they package it. And also I feel like nowadays, though, like you see it in the high end culinary institute where there's a little bit of a, like, what's the term? Not fetishization. There's more now of an interest in eating that sort of quote unquote not low quality or like low wanted meat, because I think it does show, number one, that you're using the whole animal, which I think people like to see, and two, I think people just like to tell everybody they ate a bunch of balls.
Yeah. I'd be proud of it. I want to try it someplace around here. Mike, do you know anybody around here in Atlanta that serves balls?
I'm sure that there are. I'm sure that there is. I'll take a look around for you.
I mean, besides Atlanta Eagle. Besides Atlanta Eagle.
Yeah.
I have a feeling like there's probably, there's some places like Kimball House or something that have had something on the menu that it's like he's saying, it kind of goes along with like kind of like culinary elitism to, taking something, this economy cut, and turning it into something that's, that's very frou-frou.
Like chopped cannibals. Would you compete, Mike?
Yeah.
Game on.
Yes. One thing I won't eat is brains. I'm done with brains. I think actual brains.
What about that chicken in a can that they always bust out on Chopped?
Yeah. Well, there's the I don't know if you've ever seen, but it's the cow brains in a can with scrambled eggs in a can. Like it's.
Yeah, they do pork brains too. Pork brains on eggs.
Yeah. Pork brains.
Yeah.
I'm just not. It ain't for me. I don't like the texture. I don't like any of it up. It's really gross. And I guess that's one of those too, because you do eat it. That's the one. I remember I had it at Holman and Finch. Holman and Finch is kind of like where I got into all of that like awful, literally OFFAL.
Yeah.
I thought they just had burgers. I didn't know they had all that.
Yeah, they have all kinds of stuff.
They got crazy. I don't know if it's the same. What I love is that my wife is the vegetarian essentially, and you walk into that restaurant and you remember the movie The Cell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like it looks like The Cell. Like right. It's like that. You have that cow that's like halved, where you see all of its precious meats have been turned into like delicious salami. It's like it made my wife. She was like, I got dizzy looking at this thing. And I remember going in there, and that was what we used to when was shooting Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell. We always used to just roll through all of those. We used to choose a different meat that was super weird each time, just to kind of try it. And we would just sort of dare each other to do it.
Right. Yeah. There's it's funny. It's funny because that place, they played around with a lot of stuff that people might get a little bit squeamish about. And they were really great at it, but then it's weird. They eventually became known for that hamburger, and that hamburger became so popular they had to basically kind of discard the rest of what they did for a business. And now Holman and Finch is a hamburger company. That's it.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Because I remember that used to be so much fun because they used to only do it at night.
The 10 o'clock burger.
Yeah.
And it would only, that was so cool.
That's their whole thing now.
And they made 50 of them. And you're in line for, everybody's trying to kill each other to get this damn burger.
I mean, it was delicious. It's a delicious burger. But still, oh man. Because I remember one time I was at Holman and Finch, and I was there by myself. I forgot what I was working on. I was in town. I was there by myself. And again, I don't know if it just happens to me, but I was sitting there, and we were talking about it with the bartender. I was like at the bar part, and he was, he's like, oh, so what are you into? What do you want to eat? I was just like, I like all these weird stuff. And he was like, give me a second. He goes, he gets the chef. Chef comes out and he's like, what if I told you we've got 4 suckling pigs in this morning, baby suckling pigs. And I was trying to work on this dish, which is it's deviled, their kidneys deviled on Texas toast. And this thing, and I just was just like, yeah. Yeah, I'll eat that. And then he brought it over. He just experimented, and he just diced up a bunch of kidneys and just gave it to him for me to eat. It was awesome.
That sounds awesome.
Where does Ammazza get its pork? Is it the Spotted Trotter?
Yeah.
No, they should get the balls, and then they could do, pig ball pizza.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I don't know. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I love a nut. That nut pizza going.
Yeah, put it on my cannoli and my pet.
Ammazza's incredible though. But Ammazza, that's because I haven't been there in a second. But I was like, this is gonna be great for it too, because it's kind of gothy in there.
Yeah, it's dark.
It's beautiful.
Very dungeony. It's that whole dining hall is just like it kind of looks like you're in a bar.
Yeah,
they have a nice lady who cleans up during the day, and when I was doing daytime KP, when there was no one around, you go, and then you go in and then you roll the pizza dough, which was a lot of. Yeah. But she would make us this authentic Mexican food, me and this other guy that worked there, and so we would just pig out on that, and then get a pizza, take it home, and everything. But it's a real cool building. I don't know what it was before, but. It's got a cool upstairs, and it's just a cool feel. That whole Edgewood scene is just, really cool. And there's great food other than, Ammazza is fantastic, but just around the corner you have Krog Street, and there's a lot of good food in there too.
Yeah.
Man, it just because I started really coming to Atlanta regularly in 2011, and man, has the city changed.
Yeah.
It is just changed. That whole area, I remember when that area was like, it was intense. You know what I mean? And now you go and it's just like, obviously there's mixed feelings sometimes, but it's like, at least Krog Street's nice.
Yeah.
It's expensive, ridiculously expensive, but it's very nice. You know?
Yeah.
And if you want it shitty, go around the corner to Cabbagetown. Their motto is keep Cabbagetown shitty. And then go into Little's and get a burger because I love their burgers and they have good fries too.
I love Little's.
It's a great place. I used to work down the street from there at a barber shop. I had a lot of weird jobs.
I remember things.
Let's tell everybody again what the event is.
October 11th at Ammazza. It is a cannibal-based dinner party. God knows what you're going to get, but you're going to be scared by it. I'm going to be in there as some form of, I'm the one term bandied about, nude butler.
Okay.
I'm going to be in this experience with you. Hopefully also, honestly, probably busily eating food. And I'm very excited. We're doing it up cannibal style.
Sweet.
Can I suggest that you are the board for the charcuterie?
No one's going to want to deal with the hairs. Like, it is unbelievable just the way I molt sitting at home.
And do you guys want to plug anything outside of that? Like Mike, you want to plug what you're doing now, and certainly Henry.
Basically, these days I'm running a group called Captains of Revelry, and we kind of have these like crazy event vehicles. Like right now we have this really cool made from scratch brand new kind of like Airstream, but that's called Rock the Disco sound system, and we're going around throwing renegade dance parties and stuff like that. That's kind of what I'm up to these days more than anything. Excited to get back into food for just a second and kind of get my hands dirty long enough to have some fun and then make a nuisance.
And where can people find that if they're interested?
So Captains of Revelry on Instagram is a great way to catch up with us, or captainsofrevelry.com. And we're doing all kinds of stuff with this vehicle and just kind of traveling around. We just this past weekend, last minute, got asked to come out and create and curate a stage out at Imagine Fest and kind of give people a break from the womp dubstep music. And
Yeah, my coworker went to Imagine and Music Midtown, and he needed 2 days off to recuperate. So
yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah, I just woke up 30 minutes ago, so I got out on Monday night and pretty much slept till this afternoon.
That's incredible. That's amazing. I actually have a new comic book coming out next month called Operation Sunshine for Dark Horse. Written by Marcus Parks and myself from last podcast on the left. So that's going to be fun. It is a dark. Basically, we wrote a vampire heist story. It's vampire on vampire crime. So
I just got the last podcast on the left comic book a couple of months or like a month and a half ago. I picked it up at the comic shop.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful, heavy, cool.
It's cool. I love the deck. I honestly, getting into the comic book business has been like one of my dream come trues as a boy, and it's so fun to just, I don't know. It's just so.
And now it's not just Marvel, DC, and whatever. It's, hey, I got to make a comic book, and I got money, and here, put it in your store. Boom.
Anything. You know, like you can write about. There's so many. Comic books are so creative now. They're about so much other stuff. I do remember we did a comic book for DC, and we did say a thing about how like we said something like, "Oh, we're working with the company. Can we use Superman in a thing?" It's like, "Oh yeah, sure, you can use Superman." And then they pull out this Bible, right? It's this like 5-inch thing of like, here's their Superman rules of how and what way Superman can be used. And I was just like, oh, this is you telling us no. And they were like, yes, no, you won't be using Superman in your comic book. Yeah. And I was like, thank you. Understood.
Yeah.
You know? Very complicated, but no, I can't wait. I hope people like this when they read this. It's like it's our attempt to be vaguely emotional.
Well, I'll be picking it up for sure. All right, go to atldonnerparty.com. You can check out the menu and find out all the pertinent information there, and also check out last podcast on the left. If you're not a listener, the most recent season was John Holmes in Wonderland, believe.
Yeah.
Yes, and that was probably a long tale.
13 inches.
Yeah.
He's a bastard.
Yeah.
Not a nice guy.
No.
Weird. That's why I think it's better to have a normal penis.
I'm with you. I am with you on
It helps, all right? It helps keep your head on straight. He had too much confidence, and it sunk him.
too much cock.
I have just enough.
I have just enough.
To
Could you
wake
do a little
up.
more?
Yeah, everybody could. Yeah, everybody.
Right. Guys, thank you.
I don't know if that was Henry's line on that podcast, but somebody said that John Holmes taught his penis how to use a lighter for freebasing.
Yeah.
I like small dick energy. You've got humility.
We get real angry really quick.
I like to say I like to say I have big tit energy. I do.
Guys, thank you for taking time. Everybody check it out. atldinerparty.com and go and tell Hugh if somebody doesn't show up, I'll be down there in 10 seconds.
That's great.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much.
Guys, bye.
Please hang up and try again.